Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on match day, and arguably the biggest match day Arsenal could have got at this stage of the Europa League, drawing Benfica in what promises to be two very, very good competitive ties. First leg today over in Rome, thanks to the coronavirus pandemic, and the second leg next week, Arsenal's home leg, being played in Greece. Such is the way of the world at the moment. So a very, very different type of knockout stage for Arsenal, but a massive one nonetheless, considering they went out at this stage of the competition last year with that shock defeat at the Emirates to Olympiacos. They can't afford to do that again, really, this time. And the way things are shaping up this season, you're looking at it once again, this is Arsenal's best route into the Champions League, is winning the Europa League. So a very, very big game for Arsenal, and one that they can't afford to slip up in, because they're playing a very, very good Benfica side, albeit Benfica are struggling a little bit like Arsenal this season, about 10 points off the pace in Portugal. Sporting seem to be heading towards the title. It's been a bit of a transitional year, like Arsenal, for Benfica under new coach Jorge Jesus. Like I said, they haven't quite hit the expectations that many thought they would under him this season, but they have shown signs of getting back to their best recently, from what I've heard from people over in Portugal that I've been talking to ahead of the game. And so yeah, Arsenal are going to have to be on it. When you look at the players that Benfica have got, real experienced players at the back. You've got the likes of Vertonghen, you've got Everton Suarez, players like that. So they're going to they can cause any team problems. They know what it's about at this level. They know how to play European football, most of these players. So it's going to be a game that Arsenal are going to have to be at their very, very best for. We did speak to Mikel Arteta last night ahead of the game. I'll run through some of the interesting points from the press conference as well, talking about team news. We'll look at Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, the whole tattoo gate. Mikel had his say on that. A little bit about Willian and the game and everything like that. So we'll start off with team news anyway, first of all, and good news for Arsenal. Kieran Tierney has travelled. Like I said yesterday, he was back in training. I thought they might err on the side of caution with Kieran a little bit, probably leave him at home and get him ready for the weekend, but he's gone straight out with the squad. He has travelled. We don't know if he'll start. It could well be Cedric Suarez at left back, but Tierney has gone out with the group, so that shows that he is fit anyway. And whether Arsenal decide to ease him back into action, we'll have to wait and see when the team news is announced later on today. But certainly a positive sign that Tierney has recovered well from his knee injury and has been looking good in training. So that's one bonus. Thomas Partey, however, he hasn't made the trip. We were expecting that, to be fair, as well. Mikel Arteta basically said it at the weekend, but he admitted yesterday he hadn't made the trip and he's still a little bit way off. He did say that he's training individually at the moment back at London Colney, so he is out on the grass. He's not just in the treatment centre with the physios working on that hamstring problem. So hopefully it's not going to be too long for Thomas, but Kieran is back, and that is very, very handy for Arsenal. Mikel Arteta said yesterday Thomas didn't travel, he's not there yet, he's still training individually. Kieran has had one session with us and is part of the squad. The fact that he's only had one session, you would think it would be a surprise if he's thrown straight back into action tonight from the start, but you never know. With a player like Kieran Tierney, fitness levels are naturally good. They might think he's worth the risk, because today is such an important game for Arsenal. I'll talk about that a little bit later on as well, in terms of the importance of this game for Arsenal, because I think I spoke about it in yesterday's video, but I was having a bit of a debate on Twitter about it today as well, as just what is the more important game for Arsenal in terms of if Mikel Arteta is going to rotate this week. Is it going to be tonight with an eye on the game against Man City on Sunday, or is it going to be full strength tonight and then rotate on Sunday against Man City with an eye on the second leg the following Thursday? For me personally, I think you rotate against City. I think tonight is the bigger game for Arsenal. These two legs against Benfica are massive. Manchester City, it's going to be extremely difficult to get the points against them. I'm not saying you just bin the game off or anything like that, but having watched Man City last night, they are looking frighteningly good again. And I think it's going to be very, very difficult for Arsenal to get 3 points in that game. Not saying it's impossible, and I don't think they should bin it off at all. But if you're going to make some changes to your team to keep players fresh, I would suggest that you make those changes on Sunday, because for me, Benfica is the biggest game. In terms of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Mikel Arteta obviously asked about that and the whole tattoo gate. Did he break rules or not? What's the investigation found? And Mikel being very, very coy about it and not saying exactly what has gone on. I'll just read it now. He says, whatever we do with our players, we keep it internal. It's true that a lot of members of the squad have extended families at home, and if a player does something that is not within the regulations, obviously the club acts immediately, but always privately. When he was asked if he was confident that Auba hadn't broken COVID-19 protocols, he said, we try to advise every player and make sure that they know all the rules and that we have to stick to those rules all the time. If someone doesn't do it, obviously we have to act immediately. So again, I cannot tell you who every player lives with, but we do know, and when somebody does something you shouldn't be doing, obviously it's going to get found out from us and there will be consequences, and if not, there won't be. So he's basically not saying anything there, Mikel. He's just refusing to confirm whether or not Auba has been punished, whether he's broken the rules, but saying that if he has, then he'll be dealt with internally, and that's the end of the matter. So I don't think we're going to get to the bottom of exactly what's gone on with Auba. It's just a case of if he has broken the rules, at Arsenal have dealt with it, and I'm not sure we're going to find out too much more. But look, it was always only going to be a fine or something like that, or a slap on the wrist. He was never going to get banned from games or anything like that. So I think that's about as far as we're going to get with the Aubameyang situation. Didn't look great by him, but nothing much anyone can do about it now. It's time to move on from that one. I just wanted to talk a little bit about Willian. Mikel was asked about Willian again yesterday. I said my piece earlier on in the week, I think on Monday in my piece, I just think, as much as I think that Willian is a problem and that the whole issue, it's proven to be a disastrous signing, it's not worked in Arsenal, and yeah, I don't quite understand why we're seeing Willian come on at the moment instead of Martinelli. I agree with all of what most of you are saying, but I do think that it seems to be sucking the enjoyment out of games. Like, I was so surprised after that really exciting game at the weekend that Arsenal won 4-2. I came away from that game really happy and excited, and a good feeling. Arsenal bounced back, they got back to winning ways. Really exciting game, they played well, the youngsters were great, and yet my social media feed, my comments, my notifications were just full of people complaining about Willian coming on and Arteta bringing on as a sub. And I just think, just forget about that for a little bit and just concentrate on the win. Don't let it take the enjoyment out of the game. I just feel like there's a little bit of an overreaction now. Every single thing seems to be about Willian, even when Arsenal are winning. So Mikel was asked about it and the criticism that he's getting, and how much of a struggle it's been for him since he's moved to Arsenal. And he said, look, I don't what he's doing at the moment, the way he's training, the way he's working, the way he's willing to give everything to the team is what I demand. Whether he's more successful or less successful in the game is another matter. It will come with the quality that he has, but it's what I demand to every player. Full commitment, and to put the passion, everything they have in training, and they have the opportunity to play. And so for Willian has done that every single day. So I think a lot of people are also comparing this with the whole Mesut Ozil situation and the stance that Arteta took there. But the difference seems to be certainly what Arteta's seeing from Willian behind the scenes in training to what he saw from Ozil, and that's why he's getting more opportunities in terms of playing time. And when he was asked if the criticism of Willian is unfair, he said, I don't say it's unfair, because with Willie the expectation is really high in terms of goals that he can score and the assists he can create. You expect him to be in the starting lineup as well, so it's normal that people write things about him. We have to protect him, we have to support him as much as we can, because he deserves it from the way he handles his profession and the way he is with us. So, that's Mikel there saying that Arsenal have to defend Willian from the criticism. I think the only way Willian's not going to get criticised is if he suddenly starts performing. And there are no signs that that's going to happen just yet. He seems way off it every time he comes on. And it is a difficult situation. But as I said earlier, I think we've got to at least not focus too much on that and take the enjoyment out of the way from the game. Yes, he's struggling. Yes, we want to see Gabriel Martinelli get more opportunities. I understand that. But you have to remember, Martinelli started against Man United and got taken off at half-time in that one. So he did start that game ahead of Willian. It's just since then that Willian seems to have moved ahead of him again in the pecking order when it comes to coming on as a substitute. So it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one for Arteta because he put so much effort into signing Willian. It's a difficult one for the club, obviously, because they've given him a long-term contract. They want him to be a success. It was supposed to be one of those no-risk signings who hits the ground running, but it's been anything but. And with each game goes by, it's getting more and more difficult to defend Willian, and more difficult for Mikel to defend Willian. But he's still trying at the moment, and I can understand why he's doing that, because he is an Arsenal player. It doesn't look like he's going to go anywhere at the moment, so you've got to try and get the best out of him and keep him as motivated as possible. So as I touched on earlier on in this video, it's a huge game for Arsenal tonight, absolutely massive. I would be playing this, as I said, this would be my full strength team. I wouldn't even be thinking about rotating for this game. I play everyone who start the side that won against Leeds at the weekend, which probably arguably Arsenal's strongest, although I think Rob Holding will come in at centre-back for me, just because I think Holding is a guaranteed start at the moment. He's given a little bit of a rest against Leeds, but I expect him to come back and it'll be one of either Luiz or Gabriel alongside him at centre-back. But other than that, I've seen people saying, oh, we should play Pepe. Maybe so. I can see why, but I wouldn't. I'd be sticking at the moment with a team that beat Leeds, so I'd stick with Smith Rowe on the left, Odegaard at 10 and Saka on the right, and Aubameyang up front. Because I just think it's so important. And for Arteta, it's massive. It was such a disappointment going out at this stage of the competition last year to Olympiacos. It was a major blot on Arteta's copybook. He won't want that to happen again. It'll be a huge blow for Arsenal. It would be a disaster for Arteta if they go out at this stage again. And he knows that. He said, talking about sort of using that defeat last year as motivation, he said, I hope so. I think it was a really tough experience for us all with the way it happened, because I think we deserved to go through. But as well, I think we created more hunger for this season to go and do more. And we have to use that thing that we still have there, that we haven't gone through yet, to put more energy, more passion, more commitment into this competition. So he's trying to use what happened last year as a sort of driving force to spur them on this season. Which I can understand. I remember that game. I remember the feeling afterwards, standing around waiting for the players after the game to speak to them, and the mood down there was just awful. I remember Edu and Raul Sinyehi, who then was obviously head of football, walking through, and the disappointment on their face. They knew what a big opportunity it was, and the opportunity wasted it was. The players were utterly dejected. It was just a really, really tough evening at that one, and it hurt a lot of people, and Arsenal will need to use that, channel that, use that, as Mikel says there, as hunger, to make sure it doesn't happen again, because Benfica are a tougher proposition than Olympiacos. Arsenal should have comfortably won that game last season, and they took their eye off the ball in the second leg, having gone to Greece and got a win in the first leg. They can't afford to take their eye off the ball this time, because if they do, Benfica will go through. They've got the players to do it. Little bit on Odegaard, who I thought was great at the weekend. I really liked the look of him there. Perhaps it wasn't quite as impressive as Saka and Smith Rowe, but for his first start, I thought he was really good against Leeds. It'll be interesting to see what Mikel does today. Does he stick with that front three, move Smith Rowe over to the left again and play Odegaard at 10, or does Odegaard come out and you play Pepe at left and move Smith Rowe in at number 10? But he was talking about him and what he's made of him so far. He said, all positive from my first conversations with him. He's really focused and humbled, and he was really keen to join. He's a really nice guy. The players like him, the staff like him. He's easygoing, a hard worker, and I've been really impressed with his leadership. He looks a bit calm, but on the pitch he's got something about him. I've been really impressed. It's how he talks to his teammates and how he, for example, commands the high press. Then the personality that he brings and shows every time the opponent comes towards him that he still wants the ball in the right areas. His decision making is really good, and he's a really intelligent player. Yeah, I've been really impressed with what I've seen from Odegaard so far in those fleeting appearances. Obviously only had one start. If he does start tonight, it'll be interesting to see how he gets on again, but it looks like Arsenal have brought a really, really exciting player in for the remainder of the season. Whether they can turn it permanent, that's something to worry about in the summer, but for now I'm just going to sit back and enjoy him between now and the end of the season, because I think he's going to make a big impact. Just lastly, before I go, just a little bit on Benfica. Like I said, I've been speaking to a few people over there, a couple of Portuguese journalists, trying to find out why they've struggled a little bit this season. They seem to think it's just because of the whole transitional year. They failed in the Champions League qualifying stages, I think it was, and that was a real blow to them, really knocked their confidence by all accounts, and they started the season badly. Many put it down to that defeat in the Champions League. But they have shown signs recently coming back. They drew at the weekend, which was a disappointing draw, but apparently it was one of their best performances in a long time. They really should have won the game. So Arsenal are going to have to be on their best. Mikel was asked about him. He says, what I can say is they're a really competitive team, a really high rhythm team. They have a really high press, and they are dominant when you allow them to be. They're very aggressive attacking players. When you have the space to attack and they are close to the final third, they are really dangerous. Their manager has a huge history in football, and some of our players know him really well. There's a big respect there, and they're going to be a really difficult opponent. Obviously, Jorge Jesus is the Benfica manager, a manager that David Luiz knows very, very well, a manager that Pablo Mari knows very, very well. He was his manager over in Brazil. And And so, yeah, there's real respect there between Arsenal and Benfica. I know that. And it's going to be a really interesting game. I'm very, very excited to watch it. I have to say it's going to be a nerve-wracking one because, as I said, it's a really big one for Arsenal. But I'm expecting 2 really decent games. It's a shame it's at this stage of the competition. Kind of feel like Arsenal-Benfica should be quarter-final, semi-final, final even, not the round of 32. But that's the way the draw goes. Right, just before I go, I'll do my predicted 11 for tonight. Remember, this is just what I would go for. It's what I think. Sorry, what I think Mikel will go for. It's not based on any information that I have. I'm not saying it is going to be the starting 11. It's just one that I'm looking at now, and I think that Mikel will go for. For me, I think he's definitely going to have Bernd Leno in goal. I'm going to say he's going to stick with Cedric at left back. For now, he's Kieran in a little bit. Centre backs going to be, I'm going to say David Luiz and Rob Holding. Bellerin at right back. Granit Xhaka and Dani Ceballos are the 2 holding midfielders. Then I'm going to have Bukayo Saka on the right, Emil Smith-Rowe on the left. Then I'm going to go I'm going to say he's going to go Aubameyang on the left-hand side of the attacking 3 and Lacazette as a central striker. I've got a feeling he might go for Lacazette at the moment. I'm not saying that's what I would do. I've just got a feeling that Mikel might go with Lacazette in this one. Look to hold the ball up a little bit more and play Aubameyang off the left. So that's my predicted 11 for tonight. Just run through it one more time. Leno, Bellerin, Holding, Luiz, Cedric, Xhaka, Ceballos, Saka, Smith-Rowe, Aubameyang, Lacazette. So that's my predicted 11 for tonight. Let me know what you think you might go for in the starting 11 in the comments below, and I will give them all a read. Wherever you're watching the game tonight, enjoy it. Fingers crossed for a nice Arsenal victory, and I'll be back with a video in the morning to discuss everything that's gone on and hopefully discussing a very decent Arsenal victory. Until then, have a very good day, everyone. I'll speak to you soon.